All right, I think I'm recording. I'm going to assume I am, and I'm going to record, and if not, I will have to do this a second time. Anyways, I'm Linda Donalds, and this is one of my first videos I'm going to stick on my YouTube channel as I'm starting to move forward in 2022 here with creating some content for my new YouTube channel. I am the owner of both Beyond the Journal and Hack My Journal, and I'm going to be doing a number of different things on my YouTube channel. Today I want to actually do a walkthrough demo so you can see about some software that I just picked up last week that I think is pretty cool. A lot of the videos I'll be hosting on my YouTube channel, I'll actually be using a software called Affinity. Affinity has 3 products in their suite: Affinity Publisher, Designer, and Photo. But some people would rather not be using software that's so complicated because there's a lot to Affinity. It has quite a learning curve. And there was a software that was put out this past week which is really simple to use, and it looks to me like it's going to be a pretty good competitor to Canva. Canva has a reoccurring monthly fee, and this one right now in its launch phase is available for a one-time cost. And at the time of recording this video, the front end was $49. That may change by the time you watch the video since it's in launch this week. And there are some upsells. I don't own all of the upsells, and I'm only just kind of playing around with it. But sometimes when you're looking at software, it's important to see someone else besides the people who designed it and have a lot of investment in its selling to see what it actually looks like inside. And I've bought a fair number of software products over the years. Even though I'm new at launching Beyond the Journal and Hack My Journal, I actually worked for 15 years in the software industry, computer industry. I was a software test engineer and did customer service for another company. So I've been working with software for like 15 years. And if you get to know me, you'll find that I do lots of things from an SQA standpoint, whether it's software or just about anything. So I've been kind of impressed with how stable this software is coming out of the gate. Some of the launch software has not been this stable, and some of it has been poor investments, and some of it started off looking kind of like eek, and actually it turned out to be really good. It's very hard to tell in a launch which one you're going to get. So as I show you what it looks like now, you can make your own decision, but obviously you can make your own decision, but I just thought it might be helpful to actually see me walk through it and just kind of have another view that's not kind of what's out there that they're putting on their sales page, which is good stuff. Sometimes you just want to see someone else do it. So let me switch screens here to my external display, and I'll give you a little test drive of it so you can see what I'm seeing anyways. So my screen shall have switched over to my other external monitor where I'm sitting at the login screen. So this is where you start after you purchase it, and they give you a password that you have to then change once you log into your account. So I'm going to log in, and it updates. And this is the dashboard, which I thought when I was watching the videos looked a little like I landed on somebody's product page in an e-commerce website. I guess Canva kind of is given this kind of look as well. I'm going to probably make various comparisons to Canva. I am not a Canva fan. I don't use Canva in the paid version. I have a free account. I'm an Affinity user. But there were some things that caught my attention that I like using over in Affinity, but there's a learning curve with Affinity, and these were in here. So I have been creating a few things, and I'll show you some of that in a bit. But right now, and like I said, I don't own all of the upsells. I have a couple of them, but not all of them. There were 5 of them. And oh, the other thing was during the launch the pre-launch last Tuesday, I actually won the $100 giveaway. They were doing little trivia questions and stuff, and I had no idea how many people were on the call, but I answered one of them and I got picked and I won $100, and they did deliver on their $100 immediately after the webinar was over. So that was really cool. So I've never won a contest on one of these launch things. They're usually painful to go through too, but the host, his name was Adil. He was really funny and I actually had a good time on that launch. Usually I don't. So that being said, let's go in. What they've got is up here they give you a couple of the things they're doing here: logos, box shots, mock-ups, bundles, funnels. I've been playing mostly with logos and mock-ups and something else that's actually not shown here, because if you go up here, you've got a dashboard is where I am. There are templates. Over here are my designs. You can favorite templates, including your own designs, turns out, but you can mark things as a favorite. There's a little like, well, these are my designs, so in another area I was able to put heart on it. But like here, you can see the heart. So if you like something that you're perusing through the templates, you can mark a little heart and it'll put it in the favorite section. And we'll get to custom. So to take a look at the templates that are loaded up. And a lot of the upsells have to do with getting more templates. That's usually how these launches go, is you buy a base product and then the upsells are to get some extra templates. All the upsells are one-time only purchases, so there's nothing in this funnel that was setting you up to have recurring fees. I'm pretty sure that as they get enough people buying and using it and all, that this is probably going to convert to a monthly membership thing. At what price point, I have no idea. So in my templates, because I was there on the pre-launch on Tuesday, I think it's only for us Tuesday people, for all I know. Everybody's got them. But I've got all of the graphics that they created within ClickDesigns to run the promotions for the launch. So all of us that were there on Tuesday, and maybe when they actually launched on Wednesday, maybe those people got it too. I don't know. But that's what these all are, is they're all the graphics that they use during the promotion. And so I could, if I wanted to, grab one of these and edit it just like any of the other templates. So I can scroll down and hit view more, and it'll bring me down through lots of them. So there's way too many templates in here, and they've already been adding more in the last couple days. I've noticed new things showing up already. But you can scroll down through the entire list, which is where I was, or you can pick to see just templates that are logos. And so there are quite a few. Now these logos, I'm going to dive into one of them so you can actually see what I think was super nifty. Here's one of them you saw that I started to do something with, but I haven't edited any of it, so it looks identical in my my own designs area. So I don't know how many there are in here. One thing they don't tell me is how many templates there are. That's probably something they'll eventually add, because I have accounts with like videos and InDesign, and they tell me an overall count. So there's a lot of logos in here. And what's really nifty about logos, you might be saying, "Oh, I don't need logos. I'm not creating logos for people." I like to use software and think outside the box. Anybody who knows me, I'm always trying to look at software and find ways that I could use it in a different way for my purposes than it was ever intended. So I create products that are templates for PLR or commercial use. And I could use a logo image as a little graphic in a calendar or planner or journal or something like that. It doesn't need to be a logo in the traditional sense. They're just little graphic images. So these can be repurposed for other imagery that you might use in a product. And so I don't know how many there are in here, but there are a lot of them. And I am going to come back to that because that's what I want to actually show you. In particular, that plus there are covers. These are great for creating mock-ups of your PLR commercial use templates. You can do covers. I really like the spiral bound design that they've got here. And there's just lots of cover designs. So these are just to create promos. One thing that's different about ClickDesigns versus Canva is ClickDesigns is designed intentionally to be for creating graphics for your sales pages. So everything they're trying to create and put in here, and the whole function of it is to create promotional graphics, mock-ups, logos, sales page stuff, things you're going to put on your website. That's not necessarily what Canva is trying to do, so there are differences. Canva has certain features that ClickDesigns does not have, at least not yet, it's in launch. But Canva has it because their focus is different. Like, for example, Canva can do multi-page documents, kind of like Affinity Publisher can do multi-page documents. Or if you use Adobe, it would be Adobe InDesign. Or PowerPoint has multi-pages. So this doesn't, at this point, do any multi-page things. But it is designed to do cover graphics, logos. But this is kind of neat over here. Mock-ups is similar to covers in my mind, but these are like on digital screens, phones, and laptops and so on. Sheets. Since I create templates, turns out they've got a whole boatload of templates in here, which they call sheets. They're worksheets, checklists, they're lead magnets. They put it in here because, again, from a sales point perspective of putting stuff on your website, getting subscribers and all, lead magnets. If you want to know about lead magnets, talk to Melody at PLR of the Month Club. She's huge into lead magnets, as are others in our community. So that's what these sheets are for. They have a large variety of them. There was one I pulled up trying to figure out what it was, and it was a word scramble that a classroom might use, and the theme was words for basketball. But it was like an educational thing with word Scrabble. So they've got educational ones in here, and they've got planning, and there's a lot of health related things, nutrition and weight loss, stuff like that. But what you're really looking at is what's the overall look and feel of the document. Who cares what the words are that it says? A lot of them are just kind of general, things they stuck in just to kind of show what the way the template looks. So, but those are one area that I found especially interesting because I can use them for my products. And then they have bundles where they combine these sheets and the other mock-up things and to put them in packages. And you're just going in and sticking designs into a template, and it shows up on these different areas where the image takes into the template. This will make more sense once I dive in further. And this has two different levels, so it's moved me out of the upper level into Group Shots and Group Shots Pro, which apparently I have some of. I guess that's not in one of the upsells. There are a couple of things that I don't seem to own, like Illustrations seems to be in an upsell I have not purchased, and they look really interesting. But these are all set up. I can create an illustration from scratch. I just don't have in the upsells that I bought the ability to use these particular templates. And then there are Annotations, which is another one. Looks like kind of like PowerPoint slides here. So there are backgrounds. That's another thing I don't have, and I didn't really care about that at all. I can do a lot more interesting backgrounds with Affinity quite simply. And then there are funnels, which has to do with creating elements that you would put on your website. And my website tool has an enormous amount of funnel graphics and stuff that's like the last thing I need more of. So, and they've got it all broken down into different categories here. But if your website software doesn't already have this as a feature for designing, this might be useful. All of these graphics, it doesn't matter who you're putting your website with, who's hosting with. If you're on WordPress, which many people are, these are just graphics. You're just going to create them, download them, and then upload them to your website. So there's never a concern about compatibility here. I have one website still hanging out over on GoDaddy, and I can put them on that. So, so let's just take a quick look at Sheets, since I think that anybody on my subscriber list here, because that's where I'll first announce it, is my subscriber. Maybe you just stumbled across my YouTube channel and you didn't know I had a subscriber list, but I do. But those people that will first want to check this out probably are like, what are these sheets? So let's just randomly take one that looks good. I'm wondering what this horizontal one was. So I can do a preview and it'll pop up a little preview. I have a bit of a slow internet, so this is not them being slow. I happen to live in the middle of, well, almost the middle of nowhere, and I am still running on a DSL internet connection. Yes, they still exist. So this is Let's Go Shopping. It's got a couple of little icons here. Buy flash drive, buy tulips, buy coffee. Interesting shopping list. Coffee, tilapia, munchkins. I presume those mean donuts. Buy a rose, buy tuna. Okay. Well, anyways, it's a shopping list. It also has teacher up at the top. It doesn't really matter what it says. It's like, do I like the horizontal layout? There's some images at the top. They're labeled with numbers. We can swap out the shopping cart. We could put different icons in and I can change the text. It's like, do I like the overall look and feel of it? So that's what let's look at a couple others so you can just see what the preview looks like. And then we'll pick one and I'll go in and show you how it looks to edit. So this one is also a shopping list. This one's vertical, keto shopping list. So it's got this kind of 6-box thing, some big subtitles here and a couple of words under it, and an overall title at the top. This, I think, is the word Scrabble that I did before. Wait for my internet to catch up. Yep, so that's the basketball one. I changed out the font, changed the color of the things, and fixed, well, kind of fixed the background and stuff. You can barely tell that that's actually a basketball court back there because they lined up the graphic kind of odd. And so that's that. I can show you that later, but I was going to see if I could find one I hadn't yet played around with that looked kind of interesting to me. I might take this one here for one particular reason. And it has to do with the way the picture looks on it, the little icon graphic, which is this little heart. If it's set up the way that I think it is, which is why the software quite interests me, this might be a good one. Daily health check. Well, let's go in and see if it does what I think it'll do. Not all of them use the graphic the same way. Demo, what was this? Checklist. But I will definitely show you one that has this thing they're doing with the images that I think was really nifty. And the slow loading is my internet, so bear with my internet. As long as my router doesn't go down, we're good. Easier to make these demo videos when I'm doing Affinity because that's all right on my desktop. This is browser based, so it does not have anything you're installing on your own computer. It's all done through a browser. Hence its loading slowly. And I could probably jump ahead and go, right now they're just loading this up. You get two levels because these sheets are both as like a mock-up layout, so it's angled, has a drop shadow. So you are starting to edit it, you've given it a name, I just called it Demo Checklist, and then you have to click on the image to actually edit it further, which brings it in flat. And yep, I think this graphic is going to do what I think. So I can change out the title of this and the font. I could change that. All of this stuff on it is actually a bunch of movable parts. So we could do lots of things. This is a little graphic guy that I'm interested in because I want to show you something particular about their graphics. And then this is text, a circle, a rectangle, and each of these are a bunch of circles. So it's all little bits of imagery. And you've got text. And every time I click on one of these, it's changing over here. So when I click on text, it's flipping it over to the text. And to edit text, and you can go and edit over here, but you can also go over here and retype the text over here. And it looks like it's also changing the font right now. I must have done something to make a different font, or it's still loading. So, but let's take a look at this graphic for a minute. Notice when I click on this graphic, and it depends on which graphics they stuck in the templates, because they don't all do this, but I suspected this one would. These are little vector graphics that they've pulled in, probably using SUV or SVG. And the way they've got this set up is that I can literally change every color that appears in this little graphic. So there's a lot of red, different shades of red. There's an awful lot of different colors and pieces in this particular graphic. I'm looking for a color that might be obvious. The only thing is I don't know which of each of these is what part of the graphic. So, for example, some of these are very dark red, so I'm thinking this is probably in here somewhere. And one way to figure it out, if you want, you could write down the color for the hex code here if you want to revert back, or you can hit Control Z. A lot of the shortcut keys that are used in Affinity and PowerPoint and all do work right inside this browser-based app. But I can move this around and see, I suspected it was that. So I could literally change the color of this heart and make it purple, for example. So there's a quick purple. Let me go make this even more purpley. So I could change this out. I'm not sure where each thing is that is purple, because there are lots and lots of colors. There's colors around this little thing that almost looks like a flower. There's another thing of color here. There's one here. Probably there are colors in this panel, so I could make this little star here different color than this one here. And so it takes a little bit of figuring out what is what. Oh, that's his tongue that's changing color. Can you see that? See, it's turned green. And so probably something near it is the other half of the tongue. Yep. Oh, and the tongue actually has two parts. I don't know if you could tell that. That's blue plus red in there. So these little graphics have a ton of little pieces in them. So there's that one right there. So I can like literally change the entire color of this graphic. And the hat has at least several bands making his hat look three-dimensional round. And I could change out all the colors in that. So I'm not going to go too much further with that, but I hope you can get a sense of what's going on there. I'm sure the white part of his mouth can be changed, the little white parts of his feet. Every part of him is here and changeable in all the colors. And I thought that that was like really cool. You can do that in Affinity, but that's like an advanced feature, and you set it up with global colors. But they've built that right in the software, and I don't know, maybe Canva does this, but I don't think so. I'm not a Canva user, so you can put in the comments, let me know if Canva does that or not. But uh, that is pretty nifty. Same goes with this. You can change colors of the font here. So right now it's this gold color. I could change it to blue. It has drop shadows. Pretty sure they have the drop shadow. So the drop shadow is on and it's the shade of kind of a black color. I could change it to, well, let's make it purple so it kind of goes more with my little heart character. And right now it's not blurred, but if I want to make it blurrier, it lets me blur it. I can change its horizontal vertical offset. And I could even change this to be a gradient color for the text itself, not for the shadow, but for the text. If I wanted to do that, and I can, right now it's set up for red and blue gradient, so I could change that around. And you can also change the angle, so if you don't want it going that way, it can go top to bottom and so on. So I'll leave that there for now. And then this is a shape. There's a whole bunch of different shapes. So I don't know which shape they're using. Curves probably. So if I go into curves, I could swap this out for a different shape. Maybe I like that one better, so I could add that, stretch it out. Maybe, whoops, rotate it like that. Maybe I use them both together. I want to send that back further. I can go there, I send backwards. It's probably way at the front, and there's a whole lot of things on here with all the other rectangle boxes in the checklist, so I could probably bring it one forward so it's in front. And it features this color here, so I could change the green. Doesn't look like it lets me change the blue part of it, but it let me change one part of it. And my guess is that if I were to like point that out to them, especially since this is new software, they're looking for feedback, I might want to let their software development team know that I have a graphic here. It lets me change one color, but I'd like to be able to change the other blue part. Either I'm in the wrong place, but I don't know where I would go to fix that, or they just need to go fix that. It may be an oversight. You know, I used to do software testing, so I totally know what it's like to need to release software when it's as good as you can get it, but you've got to get this thing out there for people buying it and to start making money. Software is rarely perfect ever, always has bugs in it, but you have to pick your bugs and overall quality and find a balance, especially when you need to come out of beta testing and into the actual released product. So I never expect things coming into the out to the public and out of beta to be very polished, because I've been there. I know what it takes to test stuff and the pressures from sales to get things out there and sold. And I was always in that place where a lot of myself and others would try to suggest we not release a product just yet. And when we get overridden, we'd be like, oh boy, get ready for the customer support calls. And sometimes we were wrong. Sometimes the customers were fine, and the things we were noticing weren't as big a deal to the customers as SQA people thought they were. And sometimes we were dead on right, but usually by the time something got released, we were already doing patches. So by the time anybody got around to installing it, it was the major bugs were already fixed in a patch that came out right after. So I just want to point that out because a lot of people get upset if things aren't perfect when they buy it. But if you buy something for $47 or whatever lifetime, You know, you're not in that monthly membership fee and you just bought it on release, like give them a little bit of time. If it's a good developer with a good sales team, good support, it will work out. Sometimes it doesn't. We know that. I have things I wish I didn't buy, but I have things I bought cheap and I'm like, wow, they are still around and I've had them for over 5 years now and they're much better than the day I invested in them. So, um, let's go out. I think you've got some idea how this works. Right now, if I wanted to, I could save it. Right now it's doing save and exit because it wants to go back to the mockup. But maybe before I do that, I'd like to do a download because from this screen, all right, it automatically went to a PNG file. Usually I may have hit it funny. No, this one's just going straight to a PNG file. Usually it prompts me to make sure. So usually it pops up this way. It must have been because of the screen that I had been in. And that's kind of, oh, it's just my monitor not catching up. So I can export this one as a PNG, a JPEG, or a PDF file. Some of them give me an SVG option. They're like the logos and certain graphics. So not all of them let you do the SVG, but some do. So I could export it this way. This will export it with the mock-up style of it being at an angle with the drop shadow. Did I save it already? I thought I saved it. We'll save it again. Always good to save. And this takes a while because of my slow internet, so. But there are lots of these worksheets, lead magnets that are there of different styles, and you can create from scratch. You don't have to start with a template. So if you're looking at this and you don't want to get the upsells, you certainly don't need to get them. You can create from a blank page without anything and just use all the little different elements to create your own either logo or worksheet or cover design or what have you. There we go. All right, so now let's go back out. And this will have stuck that into my designs. So this is the tab that has all my own projects that I've played around with. So, and there's the other worksheet I did before. So let's go look at a logo for a moment. So these are my things. I started off with one of their logo templates. And because I'm in my designs and hit logos, it's just showing me my own. So let's go back out over to templates outside of my design section. And then let's go to logos. And let's pick out one of them here. There's been one that I've been eyeballing and I haven't yet gone into it. So I want to see what happens when I go in. It has a little like a movie camera. I think it's down a bit here. There it is, this one here. I wanted to check this one out, so we're going to call it movie camera logo. And I just, for my habit, I call things 001 for version 1, and then if I do something different with it, I'll call it 2, and so on. Just my way of doing things. A logo will go straight into the editor because it doesn't have a mock-up, and I can zoom out up here. If I do it with the controls with my keyboard and mouse. It's actually changing the browser itself, but this one's within the app inside of it. So what we have here is, again, I can change all of these colors. So this is probably that purple there. So I could turn it a nice shade of kind of turquoisey tealy blue. I could change, I don't know which of the red, there's 3 reds here, but which one is it going to change? The big wheel. So I could maybe make the big wheel that color, and I could change some of these yellow. That's that yellow over there. So we maybe make that shade of yellow instead. This one is that one. So I'm just playing around trying to figure out what's what. This is probably the one way out, yep, on the end over there. So we could make it green. I know these probably are not colors that look good in color theory. Probably a terrible color combination, but it's mostly just so you can see that this has the ability to change out all of the different colors in it, and one at a time. So you can really kind of customize the colors of it. And you could do something else with that. You could get rid of them. You could put something else in there. You could say, I don't know what to type when I'm doing a demo thing here. So on this one, I actually have to go over here to type it. So this is going to be one of those things where you watch things that people never know what to type. A demo. And then you can play around. They've got a whole bunch of fonts. Some of the fonts I haven't heard of, but a lot of them are Google fonts. Like Homemade Apple is a Google font. Great Vibes is a Google font. I have a bunch of these already on my computer. I own like 2,000 fonts. This one here I have, that's a Google font. Freckle Face is a Google font. So you can pick different fonts. You can add shadows to them. You can change opacities. So you can do that. You can do that with the image itself. You can change the color of the shadow. You can change how much it blurs. We could change the text to be gradient and pick the colors. So there's a bunch of things you can do. Now all these things can be done in PowerPoint. They can be done in Affinity. They can be done in Adobe if you're still using that at its monthly price. But this is simple. This is really simple. I think this is simple, like PowerPoint is pretty simple. Probably this is simpler than PowerPoint. It's not going to do multiple pages in a single document, but if you wanted to create a multi-page document, you can create each page and then just pull them in together. You're going to have to export things and put it together, so you're going to need something that'll take the images that you have, and if you're trying to create a printable or a low content digital product, you're going to have to assemble it all, maybe in PowerPoint, maybe in a Word doc, something like that. But you're going to get here. Here's where you can export the SVG, but you're going to get PNG, JPEG, PDF. So any of these formats you can pull in. You can pull SVGs into PowerPoint, so you can bring them all into PowerPoint if you use that. You can probably bring them into Canva if you want. I'm not a Canva user, so I probably wouldn't choose to do that. But I can bring all of these things over into Affinity. And a lot of these things I can do in Affinity, but this is just simpler. And besides that, they've got all these kind of nifty designs. I mean, they've got tons of logos in here. I'm going to just save this. I think there's, well, let me show you that you can use photos. You can upload your own photos into here, so you can bring in PNG files. I haven't tested it out, so it may also bring in PNGs, and I don't know, maybe you can bring in SVGs. I haven't tested that to see what happens. You can search for images, so they're also pulling from Pixabay. I think they're only using Pixabay. I have other, like Affinity lets you pick from Pixabay, two others. And then they have cutouts, so they've been loading up little images that are, they're still image files, they're not vectors, but they're cutouts of different things that you could go and stick on top of it. Here's doctors, not that a doctor has anything to do with a movie theater, but if I click on here, it'll load this person on here, a doctor or a nurse, somebody wearing scrubs. I'm sure if I had a fast internet, this would be much better. Soon though, because Starlink is coming soon, we've been trying to get Starlink for a while now. We can't seem to get Comcast down our driveway because we have an 800-foot driveway and they have to run a hard line down. So we're waiting for Starlink. And we're supposed to, the last we heard was March, so I'm getting there. So anyways, you can see they do little cutouts. These are not obviously vectors for, especially with a person, but they've cut them out and they've added them into the collection so you can play around with putting people in, because remember they're trying to do things for marketing, and it's nice to see a person with a big smiley face on as part of your product. So we can save this and export out, or export or exit out of here. So I'm not sure what else you would like to see, and probably don't want to see me go on and on and on. I'm not used to creating videos yet. It's a new venture for me. So, but I thought maybe it would be nice to see somebody just kind of rummaging around in their account to see what it did. So if I wanted, I could export in these. I'm going to just kind of go over here. And if you want to see what it looks like when it comes into Affinity, that may be like the only other thing you're wondering is like what happens when you bring it in. So if you're going to export in PNG or JPEG, obviously it's going to be rasterized when you bring it into Affinity. But let me bring up, actually, last time I had Affinity Designer open, I created this over in Click Designs using one of the logos. It had the cat on it. I forget what else it said, but I changed some things around. So this is actually an earlier one. So the cat's meow, I actually changed it. My cat goes meow and she has this two-part meow, meow, meow. Sometimes she just says murr, and then goes meow. It always means feed me now. So I kind of did this for her because a little kitty meowing. And when I pulled it into Affinity, I had exported it as an SVG because it was a logo template I was working with. I added this yellow part in the background from the different, abstract shapes they had. The font that I was using over in ClickDesigns, apparently, I don't have it installed on my computer. I have like 2,000 fonts on my laptop, so I'm going to probably go back and see which font I used and then go see if that's one I can get my hands on, because if I don't own a font when I import something, I usually go see if I can get it out of Google Fonts. I notice they're using a lot of Google Fonts. Or is it in Creative Fabrica because I have a monthly subscription there? Or, where is it? Can I get my hands on it for free? Or subscription like Creative Fabrica. But I don't know which font it was. It was kind of a nifty one. So that's why I've got whatever Affinity decided to call this font. Right now it's picking it up as it is as a font. Yeah, no, it's definitely picking it up as a font. It doesn't know what to call it. It probably threw it as a like Arial or something. So I can change the fonts around to match. If I had already had the font on my own computer, then Affinity would have recognized it when it came in and it would still be there. But I do have my little kitty vector. I can change the color of my kitty right here in Affinity. I can make them blue if I wanted. So do the same with the text and all. And this is not a complicated design, so there are a bunch of complicated things I could do over in ClickDesigns, but I can, at least with these logos here, I can export them as SVG and then play around with them further over in Affinity if I wanted to do that. I'm sure that what I'm doing here could also be done in PowerPoint, because you can take SVGs into PowerPoint. You can also export stuff from PowerPoint to SVG. And I'm sure Adobe does the same. Adobe does almost everything that Affinity does and PowerPoint does, so they all are quite comparable. There are a number of things that PowerPoint's quite limited in, but you could play around with this in combination of the two. And trying to think what else you might want to see, but you know what? I want to get this video done. I've never done a video like this before, so I hope that it was something that looked good. I'm going to try to move my OBS Studio here over to me. And there I am. So that I want to get this thing up there, and I hope you liked it, because I haven't done one before. So, and if you are interested in checking it out for yourself, there's a link that'll be in the email, and I'll put it in the video below. It is in launch. I don't know how long they'll keep launch prices for. They are giving you not just 30 days to test drive it, but they actually were doing 90 days to test it. And if you don't like it, get a refund back. You can keep everything in your desktop. And yes, everything that you create inside of ClickDesigns is for commercial use. I asked, and I wasn't the only one in the group, so like, can I resell my designs inside my own PLR commercial use product? And they said yes. If I design it, even with their little logo designs and stuff, and I put it in my own PLR product, yes, that is fine. Of course, whoever buys my PLR product does need to flatten files out, as would be the case with any PLR product, but yes, I can pass things on as if I created them myself, because in their mind, I did create it myself. Any other questions, just let me know. If I don't already know the answer, and I just didn't mention in the video, if I don't know the answer, I'll find out, and I'll let you know. So I'm going to end my video now and get this thing posted.